It doesn't matter how good your product is. If it is inherently complex, difficult to use, difficult to understand, consumers by and large are not going to use your product. They are going to avoid your product. They want things to be as easy and simplified as possible, especially if they're trying to embrace a new product and potentially a new way of doing things. The point I'm getting at is when you make things complex and difficult, it leads to confusion. And when people are confused, they tend to kind of shrivel up into their shell and resist any and all type of change or any of all type of something different. And I look at the NFL, and it's not so much about change, but one of the things that I think is really bad for the product, you can talk about other things, but I think one of the biggest things that is really bad for the product is the confusion that it can cause a lot of fans. What's pass interference? What's not? What's holding? What's not? And then we get to the catch rule. One of the most basic fundamental plays of the game, and more often than not, nobody really truly knows what the hell a catch is and what the hell a catch isn't. And if you're a fan watching and you sit there and think this is a catch and then it seems ridiculous that it's not, or you don't think this is a catch and you think it's ridiculous that it ends up being, at some point in time you get so confused that you don't really want to bother with watching anymore. And it's that simple. Confusion is bad for your product. Confusion has been very bad for the NFL product. Because if nobody knows what's going on, if nobody knows whether it's really a catch or not, then how the hell do you expect anybody to actually enjoy the product? And to me, the final, if there wasn't already numerous examples of a jump-off point, the final jump-off point for this, and the debate over the catch rule and whether or not it needed to change, which everybody under the sun with a brain, meaning the fans and media in this case, believe it or not, knew it had to change, but for some reason the league had continued to resist it for years. It was the Super Bowl, Super Bowl 52. You had two plays particularly, the Corey Clement touchdown, the Zach Ertz touchdown. These were two plays that were significant in terms of their impact on the results of the game. Without one or both of those plays going the Eagles' way, they very well might not win Super Bowl 52. But as you got to both plays, and you got to the review of both plays, and you've got Al Michaels and Collinsworth and other people, then you've got social media talking about it, and you just see how bad the confusion is. Nobody knows what the hell is a catch or not. Like, Corey Clements was pretty questionable. I tweeted during that game talking about just because the ball moved didn't mean he didn't have control. They might end up ruling it a catch. But I was actually really surprised that they did. I've seen much more clear examples of catches be ruled incomplete or be overturned by replay. I was stunned in the biggest game of them all that was called a touchdown. I thought that was insane. And then you got the Zach Ertz play, which even if you're a Patriots fan, you've got to admit common sense dictates, screw the rule book, that this dude caught the ball, took 2 steps, took another step, reached the ball out, and then it comes out. That is a catch. He broke the plane with the ball in his hands. That's a touchdown. And during all of this, you've got debate going on social media. You've got the commentators unsure, admitting when it happens that they just don't know. And talking about that this might be an incomplete pass or it might be a fumble. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? This confusion is terrible because it leads to unnecessary controversy and it leads to an overall dissatisfaction with the product. And we've had years of this happening with this stupid-ass NFL catch rule. Calvin Johnson, Dez Bryant, Zach Miller, Kelvin Benjamin, Jesse James, numerous examples of guys going above and beyond the call of duty for what in the world of common sense would construct in your mind that that is a catch, and every single damn one of them was ruled incomplete. Like, how do you watch that Calvin Johnson play about a decade ago where he goes up, gets the ball, falls to the ground, and as he gets up, he places the ball on the ground, and not think that that's a touchdown. It was ruled incomplete. Lions lose that game. Dez Bryant in the 2014 season, you remember the divisional game against Lambeau. He goes up, gets the ball, takes like 3 steps, and going to the ground, and as he's breaking the plane with the ball in his hands, he hits the ground and the ball shifts. I don't care if you're a cheesehead or not. That's a catch based off of common sense, but of course, not the rule. And the problem was the rule. Zach Miller, for Christ's sakes, for the Bears this past season against New Orleans, broke his damn leg catching the ball, but because he sat there and let go of the ball after he had clearly demonstrated he had caught the damn thing, incomplete. Kelvin Benjamin, incomplete. Jesse James, incomplete. And that was ridiculous because that's a game that potentially impacted playoff seeding in a big way. If the Steelers win that game, they might possibly end up with home field advantage throughout the playoffs. The whole entire landscape of the playoff picture in the AFC and in the NFL as a whole could have drastically changed off of that one play and that one ridiculous call because of one ridiculous rule. The NFL had reached a point where they could no longer pretend that they didn't have a problem because they obviously did to anybody with a brain. And even the freaking scarecrow himself, Roger Goodell, finally admitted that they had a significant problem and something had to happen. Oh, gee, you think? And at least we could say, finally, the league has made an attempt to simplify one of the most basic plays that they have. And this is a good thing. All this other bullshit and everything else can kick rocks. Your new catch rule is very simple. Comprises of 3 main components. Establishing yourself in bounds, which is either getting down 2 feet or another part of your body, such as your ass cheek, your knee, your shoulder, your arm, elbow, something like that. That's part 1. Okay. Number 2, maintain control of the ball. The ball can move as long as you demonstrate that it is moving while it's under your control, which is, to me, part of the reason why Corey Clemens play in the Super Bowl ended up being ruled a catch, even though that in itself leads it to be a little more controversial. The biggest thing about this maintaining control of the ball, you do not have to hold onto the ball all the way through to the ground. That's just ridiculous, especially with the Calvin Johnson play, the Dez Bryant play, the Zach Miller play, the Jesse James play. Those are all catches based off of common sense and logic and what you actually see, and we're going to rule all of them incomplete? That's so dumb that you have to sit there, potentially having to take 4 or 5 steps, and even after you've reached out with the ball, which everybody with a brain would clearly say that that is making a football move, but if you do not hold on to the ball all the way through the ground, it's incomplete no matter what. That is bullshit. And that has kicked rocks. Thank God. And then step 3, making some type of football move. A 3rd step, reaching out with the ball, turning your body, something. Now, obviously, that's not a perfect solution because it could still lead to some subjectivity. It could be based some off of perspective. But when you take all of this into account, establishing yourself in bounds, maintaining control of the ball, making some type of football move, it's not the be-all, end-all solution, and there is still going to be controversy sometimes. But God damn it, when you look back at the past, Calvin Johnson, that would have been a catch. Dez Bryant, that would have been a catch. Zach Miller, that would have been a catch. Kelvin Benjamin, catch. Jesse James, catch. All under this new rule. It doesn't have to be perfect for it to be better. And a whole hell of a lot better. And a significant step in the right direction. At least I can feel like heading into 2018, while it might not be perfect 100% of the time, we have finally eliminated a lot of the confusion around what is a catch and what isn't. And for that, I applaud the people involved with the NFL after so many years of stubbornly digging in, especially after the Dez Bryant thing. Oh, we don't have a problem. The problem is not us. The problem is not the rules. The problem is the people don't understand how to interpret it. No, dumb dicks. The problem was the fucking rule. And it was high time you changed it. It's embarrassing. In your biggest game, and your commentators don't know whether these are catches or not, and frankly, the fans really don't know if they're catches or not, and the league didn't know whether they're catches or not, no matter what they say. So thank God they tried to fix this and eliminate some of the confusion before it more negatively impacted their product than it already has over the past several years. There are enough other things we have to complain about the NFL product. Something this fundamental and this basic should have never been in the conversation, but it had been allowed to for far too long, and finally the league has taken a step to make that no longer be the case.